Man, things are changing, aren't they? You know, the public loves to say, just give me 30 seconds. Let me just rip us for 30 seconds and I'll move on. I love how the public likes to say, you know, we're looking for change. Shut up. No, you're not. No chance. Jeff, it's about the economy. Shut up. No, it's not. No chance. Way to go. Way to go, America. You know what's funny is Nick Saban the Yoda of college football? I'm going to say Nick Saban is the Yoda of college football until Mac Brown retires. Then Mac Brown is going to be the Yoda of college football. The fact that Mac Brown, after more than 30-plus seasons, it's got to be close to 40, I think. After close to 40 seasons, the fact that he hasn't retired is remarkable. But because the Yoda, current Yoda, Nick Saban, is now going to be the norm rather than the exception. And I like it. I like this version of Nick Saban, the Yoda, because he's pulled the curtain back on why it is that he's the Yoda, and he's pulled the curtain back now on why it is he retired. Mostly the reasons why he retired. He's talking, and I think he's going to keep talking because that's his job now. But I also think the guy, you know, the guy that we've known for so long as get off my lawn is now a guy that says I'm kind of Yoda now, and I've got stuff to say, and I think I should say it, and I'm not going to hold back, and I think it's kind of nice. He's increasingly, see if you agree with this. We can keep up the Yoda references if you want, but he's increasingly becoming a likable character. He's not warm and fuzzy by any stretch, but he's increasingly becoming a likable character. And I know a lot of people are going to say, and that's fine, he's just an old man saying, get off my lawn, old man kind of things. But I don't think I agree with that completely. Certainly not now. I would say more successful college coaches are going to get out of the game, but largely it's already happened. I want you to think about this before you even know what Nick Saban has said, the Yoda of college football, what he said. But think about the people that are getting out of the game. I don't think it's just a one-off year. I think it is a trend. And these are legendary coaches who are, yes, they're older guys, are saying, I'm out. I'm going to get out because they can. The biggest names in the sport have already gotten out. I guess except for Mac Brown, which is... I would have bet money. I would bet a bottle of wine that Mac Brown would have retired this year. But outside of Mac Brown, the biggest names in college football are out. And they're out in 1 year. Nick Saban, Yoda, Jim Harbaugh, Chip Kelly, who's been around a long, long time and has a pretty impressive track record to say the least. Chip Kelly went from being the head coach at UCLA to being a play caller at Ohio State. And you know what he said? I just want to be happy. Mac Brown will be next. I don't think I guess at this point, I don't think he'll quit before next season, but I would be shocked if he sticks around for another year. In other words, every big name of successful coaches in college football has pretty much gotten out. Now, they've had success, they've made money, so they can. Dabo Swinney at Clemson, I guess you'd put him as the next biggest name on the list. We could debate that, I suppose. But Dabo Swinney at Clemson won't get out yet, my prediction, because I don't think he has anywhere to go. But I will say this. He is going to complain all the way until the day he walks out. I don't think the NFL is calling for him or very few college coaches, but I do think he doesn't like it, and he'll complain constantly until he does get out. Brian Kelly of LSU, if he had an NFL offer, he would bail. If he had probably at this point any kind of NFL offer in any capacity, he'd probably bail too. So would Steve Sarkisian, and so would Lincoln Riley. But Lincoln Riley's underachieving, so he's not going to get any chances now. So everybody that can get out is going to get out. The older guys that made a bunch of money are out. So why is Nick Saban the norm? Why is it Nick Saban, Jim Harbaugh, Chip Kelly, soon to be Mac Brown? Just keep going down the list of anyone that's had success, that has made a ton of money, and says, they've done it long enough. Is it just because they just felt like getting out? No, not at all. Nick Saban is the norm, and here are the reasons why. And this will happen more often. Some of the reasons are slightly selfish that Saban is giving. I hear that. I think people are going to react because Saban is polarizing still to this day until he becomes even more kind and gentler. He's always going to be polarizing. So I get it. And people are going to say, well, shut up, old man. You're just being selfish. And I think some of that is true. But his reasons are in no particular order. He's being slightly selfish. Some of his reasons, if not most of his reasons, are old school. Jim Harbaugh, Nick Saban, Chip Kelly, keep going, they're old school. And it's no longer old school. And before you say that's really cool, I'd be careful about that if I were you. It's not so cool. So they're old school. They'll have old school reasons. And they've got and I think in a lot of cases, very legitimate reasons. And he's saying it out loud. He really is. The old school reasons. And this has been true for some time until now. The old school reasons are like this. Successful college football coaches own the sport until 8-9 months ago. They own the sport. Not only have they owned the sport, they've owned the campus, and in many cases, they've owned the state. They were the most revered people. And I say in this past tense. I'm saying this past tense. They were the most revered people in the state in many places, to the point that it's nauseating. I get it. But that's how much power they've had up until 8-9 months ago. They ran their program how they see fit, and everybody followed their rules, or you're out. There you go. It's that simple. For the debate that I think a lot of us were having, I could even add a name to this list. For the debate a lot of us were having, a year or two ago about Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer possibly going to Texas A&M. Urban Meyer possibly going to Texas. I mean, whatever. Urban Meyer has had ridiculous success, kind of a nut job, but a ridiculous success. Well, Jeff, would he go back? No way. Not now. For all the reasons Nick Saban has given. He's old school, bordering on dictatorship. So there's no chance that works. So these have been incredibly powerful people that are admired and revered, and they ran their programs with their rules, and if you didn't follow, you would get out. Nobody questioned them. Not even university presidents, ever. Not athletic directors, ever. And sure the hell, listen to this, sure the hell not college players, and sure the hell not recruits. Saban just said as much, and I think other coaches agree. And many of them, if they had any sort of success, they'd be bailing out too. Here's what he's had to say, and he's on ESPN now. He's talking a lot, which I don't think is a bad thing, to be honest. I don't know how you're going to take it. I suspect you're going to be negative about it. I don't think what he's saying is all that wrong, and I do think many of us, if you step back and take the name Saban out of it, you can't. You might find yourself saying, yeah, I kind of get it. I mean, there's no rules, man. So here's what ESPN reports today in a sit-down interview. Alabama lost 27-20 to eventual national champion Michigan in the college football playoff game. It was an overtime loss, remember? Alabama had every right to win that game. They had an idiotic fourth down play where their quarterback just ran into the line of scrimmage and got stuffed. So they get beat. The game, it's reported, turned out to be the final one of Saban's career. He announced his retirement less than 2 weeks later. Saban told ESPN the way some of his players acted after the loss contributed to his decision to hang it up after the 2023 season. He says, quote, I was really disappointed in the way that the players acted after the game. You got to win with class. You got to lose with some class. We had our opportunities to win the game, and we didn't do it. Then, this is Saban talking here, then showing your ass and being frustrated and throwing your helmets and tantrums and doing that stuff, that's not who we were and what we've promoted in our program. He says, I think he's going to keep talking, which I think is good. He's Yoda, right? He's just like spewing some wise stuff. And I think he's going to end up being right. He then goes on to say 70 to 80% of the players you talk to in the college game now want to know what their playing time is, and they want to know how much money they're going to make. Remember, this guy only won 7 national championships, 6 of them in Alabama. Think about this number. In 10 years of the college football Final Four playoff, Alabama was in it 8 times. It's ridiculous. No other team's made it more than 6. His numbers are not going to be touched. His numbers are not going to be touched, I don't think. I really don't. I don't think they're going to stick around long enough, and I just don't think you can have that kind of success now. All right, so I know a lot of people are going to say, and I would love to be the one that says it too. Okay, deal with it, old man. Times have changed. It's a player's game now. I think this is what a lot of you want to say. It's a player's game now. The pendulum has swung the other way, old man. Get back on your porch and just watch the world go by and have some soup. That's what a lot of people want to say. Okay. Yes, the pendulum has swung. Yes, it's a player's game. Even a recruit's game. And they dictate the terms. Everything I said about Saban and Harbaugh and these guys that have run their programs and had rules and had standards and everything else, and you follow those or just get out, those are gone. And that's why those dudes are gone. That's why they're out. They can't stand it. So the pendulum has swung. But before, when people start to say it's a player's game, it's cool that these young guys are going to dictate the terms and all that stuff. Yeah, hang on a second. Think about this. For everybody that wants to make an argument that that's just the way it ought to be, Jeff, that young people should be calling the shots here. Look, and I've never liked the fact that these college coaches are dictators on campus and university presidents don't rein them in. I think it's despicable. But what's happened now is ridiculous. And let me give you an example why it's ridiculous. And any one of you going for a job interview or more importantly, for a raise, you'll find it ridiculous. To use an NFL and NBA example, which is where I think people want to go with this. Remember what a lot of people are going to say. It's a player's game. That's just these guys got to adapt, and these guys get to call the shots now. A 17-year-old gets to call all the shots now. Okay. Here's the NBA and NFL examples of players dictating the terms. It's true. Patrick Mahomes, LeBron James, Matthew Stafford, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen. I could probably name Dak Prescott. I can keep going with these stars. Yes, they very much have a say in what their roster looks like. Those stars have a huge say in what their franchise is like. Those stars have a huge say in who their coach is. All that is true. It's very true. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's wrong. But not just the final say, right? I can't say everybody because a Super Bowl winner just lost his job at the Denver Broncos. So they're not untouchable. But yeah, they have a bunch of power, and they do have impact and say within their franchises, and I think they should. But think about this, the difference here. For everybody that wants to say, well, it's a player's game now. Star players dictate a lot, but the giant difference is they've earned it. They've done something. That, I think, is what's driving Saban crazy, is you've got a 17-year-old, and it's a system of lying to him and a 17-year-old feeling entitled. They're now dictating the terms, and they haven't done a thing. All those stars in professional sports that dictate the terms, that a lot of people would argue have too much power. A lot of people say, why should LeBron James have a say on who the coach is? Because he's earned it. He's the most important person in the building, and he's proven it over time. They've proven themselves. What Saban and other coaches are saying is that some 17-year-old is now dictating the terms. The Maryland head coach the other day, who's not exactly Nick Saban himself, he doesn't exactly have the Saban championships, but he went public recently and almost felt pretty guilty about it when he said he walked into his office one morning. He had just walked in, and sitting by his desk, he says there was a kid that rarely ever played, and the first thing he said was, I need $100,000. He hasn't done anything. So any one of us, anybody anywhere that has leverage, use it. But most of these college players and these recruits have no leverage, except one thing. And this is what would drive any coach, whether they're Saban or not, whether they're old or not. This is the big problem and where this thing is going. And they don't have leverage. They're not LeBron James. I mean, some of them are, but they're recruiting teenagers. The college sport football business is recruiting teenagers and telling them everything they want to hear. Everything is a lie. They just are told whatever they need to hear. From the time, many of them that are stars, from the time they're 13 or 14, they are told constantly how great they are. That's recruiting. So a teenager is hearing about how great they are nonstop, so they expect it. They expect to show up and dictate the terms. They expect that they're LeBron James. They think they're LeBron James. They think they're Patrick Mahomes because they've been told that, and they're not. They've proven nothing, but yet they walk into a room and fully expect that they're the most important person in the building. They're the most important person on campus. They're the most important part of that college football franchise, and they're the ones dictating the terms. And they'll just say, shut up, old man. I'm not going to follow those rules. I'll leave. I'll get somebody to give me some money. So they expect it. The minute the word, here's why you'd say, well, gosh, why don't coaches push back? And it is true. It's their own fault. And this is why these guys have bailed. Because the minute word gets out that a coach says, any coach, okay, any coach, the minute a coach says to a player sitting at his desk, he says, haul ass, kid, you haven't done anything. Go get your money elsewhere. What do you think you are, dictating the terms? You haven't done anything, so go somewhere else. The minute that is said is the minute that spoiled teenage star tells other spoiled teenage stars that coach is a jerk. That program's in real trouble. If you say no to them, word gets out that you say no. Remember, it's like almost like a bunch of boy band stars all getting recruited at the same places. You can't tell them no. Because nobody says no. And the first guy that says no, haul ass and get out of here, you're not telling me what to do, is the day that person is in real trouble. It's like, I hate to swing this back to politics and how stupid we are as voters, but it's almost like Republicans saying obviously terrible things about Donald Trump, right? The gang will turn on them, and the career is over. College coaches are stuck in this place now where even if you find the kid obnoxious, even if you find it's over the top that they're dictating the terms to you, even though they've done nothing to deserve it, you can't say anything because the gang will turn on you. In the end, he's going to keep doing it. He'll be the only one that does it until the other Yoda shows up, and that's Mac Brown. In the end, Nick Saban is saying the quiet part out really loud.